but Callan for business. Okay,
Right.
very good. And we are at page 45. Page 45.
Yes.
Okay, and last headword was publicize. Okay, so newer type of lesson. So let's start
All
with
right.
revision. Okay, let me just
Oh,
scroll
sure.
down. Okay, here we go. Ready?
Yes, I
Okay,
am.
first question. Okay, so when we present numerical data to people, why do we often use a chart or graph rather than just show the data in a table? When we present numerical data on people, why do we often use a chart or graph rather than just show the data in the table? When we present numerical data,
We present
numerical data
numerical data
to people, we
to
often
people.
use a chart
We often use a
or
chart
graph rather
or a
than
graph rather than
just show the data in a
just to
table
show the data in the table
because it can be easier
because it can
to
be
understand
easier
numerical
to
data
understand
when it's
numerical data
displayed
when
in a
it's
chart
displayed
or
in
graph.
a chart or a graph.
Where in which two ways of displaying information are best for showing how data varies over time? Which two ways of displaying information are best for showing how data varies over time? Line graph and
Line
bar
graph
graph
the bar graph
are best for showing
are best for
how
showing
data varies
our data varies
over time.
over time.
And which of those graphs form would you choose if you wanted to display a trend over a long period, for example, in property prices? And which of those graphs forms would you choose if you wanted to display a trend over a long period, for example, in property prices? I choose line
I
graph.
choose line graph.
In if I wanted to display
If I wanted to
a
display
trend over a long
a
period,
trend over a long
for
period,
example, in property
for example,
prices.
in property prices,
Why? Why do you think so? Because
because line graph indicates
uh,
fluctuation
for a long time,
uh,
for a long period.
for a long period of
That's
time,
correct. It
right?
shows the fluctuation for a long period.
Right.
Very good. What's a next? What's a pie chart useful for? What's a pie chart useful for? A pie chart's
A pie chart
useful for
useful
comparing relative
for
quantities,
comparing
relative
relative
quantities for a
quantity
small
for a small
number of
number
categories.
of categories.
Again, which display method could we use to show the result of a survey, asking the public which of five particular products they like most? Which display method could we use to show the result of a survey, asking the public which of the five particular products they like most? We could use a
We
pie
could
chart,
use
a
a
bar
pie
chart,
chart,
or a
a bar
table
chart,
to
or a
show
table
the result
to show
of
the
a
result
survey,
of a
asking the
showing,
public
asking the
which of
public which
five
of
particular
five
products
particular
they
products
liked most.
uh, they like the most.
Very good. And of those three methods, which would most clearly show the percentage of customers that preferred each product? And of those three methods, which would most clearly show the percentage of customers that preferred each product? Of those three methods,
Of those three
a
methods,
pie chart would
a pie
most
chart
clearly show
uh, would most clearly
the
show
percentage of
a
customers
percentage of
that
customers
preferred each product.
that preferred each product.
Very good. What do we mean by a flow chart? What do we mean by a flow chart? By a flow chart,
By a
we
flowchart,
mean a
we
diagram
mean a
that
diagram
shows the
that
different event
shows that different event
or stages in a
or
process.
stages in a process.
Where you give me an example of something we could show in a flow chart. Give me an example of something we could show in a flow chart, please. We could show
We could
a
show
recruitment selection
a
process
recruitment selection
in
process
a flow chart.
uh,
In a
with
flow chart.
in a flowchart.
Very good. Okay, next. When somebody loses their job as a result of a company needing to downsize, Do we say the person has been sacked or made redundant? When somebody loses their job as a result of a company needing to downsize, do we say the person has been sacked or made redundant? When somebody loses
When
their
somebody
job
loses their
as a
job
result of a
as a
company
result
needing
of the
to
company
downsize,
needing
we
to
say
downside,
the person
we say
has
the
been made
person
redundant.
has has been made
Made redundant.
redundant.
So when do we usually say that someone's been sacked? So when do we usually say that someone's been sacked? We usually say
We
that
usually say
someone's been
that
sacked
someone's been
when
sacked
it's their own fault.
when it's your
Own fault,
own own fault.
they lost their job.
They lost their job.
Greg, what's another verb we can use instead of sack? What's another word we can use instead of sack? Another verb we can
Another word
use
we can
instead of
use
sack
instead of
is
sack
fire.
is fired.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. They fired her for
They
being
fired
late
her
all the
for
time.
being late, uh, late or
All the
late
time.
all the time.
Right, and what's another expression we can use instead of make somebody redundant? And what's another expression we can use instead of make somebody redundant? Another expression we
Another
can use
expression we
instead
can
of
use instead
make
of
somebody redundant
make somebody
is
redundant
lay somebody
is
off.
lay somebody off.
Very good. Give me an example. Give me an example, please. During the recession,
During the
we
recession,
had to lay off
we had to
a lot
lay
of
off
staff.
a lot of staff.
Very good. Would you ever approach a close personal friend to invest in a business idea you had? Would you ever approach a close personal friend to invest in a business idea you had? Yes or no?
Yes,
I'd approach a
I'd
close
approached
personal
a
friend
close a personal
to
friend
invest in a
to
business
invest
idea
in a business idea
I had.
I had.
Is it more common these days for investors to consider the ethical aspect of an investment in addition to simply the annual return they can expect to get from it? Is it more common these days for investors to consider the ethical aspect of an investment in addition to simply the annual return they can expect to get from it? Yes, it's
Yes,
more common.
it's
Yes, it's more
i-
common
it's more common
these days for
these days
investors to
for investors
consider the
to
ethical
consider
aspect
the ethical
of an investment
aspect of an
in
investment
addition to
in
simply
addition
the
to
annual
simply
return
the annual
they can
return
expect to get
they
from
can
it.
expect to get from it.
Very good. Why might a company decide to throw surplus stocks away rather than keep it in storage and wait for demand to increase? Why might a company decide to throw surplus stocks away rather than keep it in storage and wait for demand to increase? A company might
A company
decide
might
to
decide
throw surplus
to
stocks
throw
away,
surplus
surplus stocks
stock
away,
away
rather than keep it
rather than
in
keep it
storage and wait
in storage
for
and
demand
we
to increase
for demand increase.
because the stocks has
Their
reached
cost stock has
the
reached
end of its shelf life.
the end of its shelf
The
life.
charges for warehouse,
Uh,
the charges for warehouse
Charges at the warehouse
storage are too high.
storage too
The
high.
stock is now obsolete
Uh, Stock is now
and
obsolete,
obsolete, etc.
option, etc.
Very good. One more. A company might
A
decide
company might
to
decide
throw surplus
to throw
stocks
a
away
surplus stock
rather
away
than keep it
rather than
in
keep it
storage and wait
in
for
storage
demand
and wait
to
a
increase
demand to
because
increase
the stock
because
has
the
reached the
stock
end
has
of
reached
its
again
shelf life.
of its shelf
The
life.
charges for warehouse
The charges
storage
for warehouse
are too
storage
high.
are too high.
The stock is now
The stock is now
obsolete, etc.
obsolete, etc.
Very good. That was very long. Very good. Okay, next. When composing an email, when do we put an address in the CC field? When composing an email, when do we put an address in the CC field? When composing an email,
When composing
we
an
put
email,
an address
we put
in
an
the
address
CC line
in the
in
CC file
order to copy
in order
somebody
to copy
in
somebody
on that email.
in on that email.
Where if we wanted to copy a colleague in on an email to a client without the client knowing anyone else had been copied in, where would you put the colleague's email address? If you wanted to copy a colleague in on an email to a client without the client knowing anyone else had been copied in, where would you put your colleague's email address? If I wanted to copy
If I wanted
a
to
colleague
copy
in
a colleague in
on an email
on an
to a
email
client
to a
without the
client
client
without
knowing anyone,
knowing anyone
without the client,
without a client
without the client
without the client
knowing anyone else
knowing anyone
had been
else
copied in,
copied in.
I'd put my
I'd
colleague's
put my
email
colleague's email
address
address
in the BCC
in
field.
the BCC field.
Very good. Okay. What do the abbreviations CC and BCC stand for? What do the abbreviations CC and BCC stand for? The abbreviation
The abbreviations
CC and
CC
BCC
and BCC
stand for
stand for
carbon copy
carbon copy
and blind carbon copy.
and blind carbon copy.
Blind carbon copy. Very good. Okay, next. What do we mean by a multinational company? What do we mean by a multinational company? By a multinational
By a
company,
multinational company,
we mean a
we
business
mean
that
a
has
business that
significant
has
operations
significant operations.
based in several
There's in several
different countries.
different
Very
countries.
good. Name me a well-known multinational. Name me a well-known multinational, please.
Apple
Is a well-known
is well known
multinational company.
multinational company.
Very good. How can a freelance hairdresser, for example, start to build a portfolio of clients? How can a freelance hairdresser, for example, start to build a portfolio of clients? A freelance hairdresser
A freelance
can start,
freelance
hairdresser
freelance hairdresser
can start
can start
uh, to build a portfolio
to build a portfolio
of clients by
of
asking
clients
friends and family, by asking
by asking
friends and family
friends and family
to recommend them,
to recommend them,
publicizing their services
precising their services
in their local area, etc.
in their local area, etc.
Very good. Okay, so that's the end of our revision. Let's have your
Mhm.
very good. Okay, so repeat headquarters
Headquarters,
or head office.
head office,
Coordinate.
coordinate.
Very good. Okay, listen. Headquarters or head office. We call the main location from which a business coordinates its operation the headquarters or head office. For example, QQ English Company's headquarters in Cebu, Philippines. Coordinate is the verb. It means to make an arrangement so that two or more people or groups of people can work together properly and well. For example, the agencies are working together to coordinate policy on food safety. Let's practice. What do we call the main location from which a business coordinates its operation? What do we call the main location from which a business coordinates its operation? We call the
We
main
call
location
main location
from which a business.
for which business.
No more. One more. We call the
We
main
call
location
the main
from
location
which a business
from which a business
coordinates its operation
coordinates its operation
for the headquarters
or
or
headquarters
head office.
or head office.
Very good. Okay, next repeat. Minutes.
minutes,
Matters arising.
matters are arising,
Comment.
comment,
Very good. Okay, listen. Minutes is a noun. It is an official record of what was said and done in a meeting. For example, it's important during official meetings, such as board meetings, to make sure that someone takes minutes so that there's an official record of the issue that were discussed and decisions that were made. Matters arising. If something arises from or out of a situation or event, etc., it is caused or started by that situation. For example, I wasn't able to attend the meeting last week, so I asked my colleagues, are there any matters arising from the minutes of the last meeting? Comment is an Comment is a noun. It means something that you say or write, which gives an opinion or explains somebody or something. For example, when the chair of a meeting asks us whether there are any matters arising, we should make any comments we wish on issues that were discussed during the previous meeting, which aren't on the agenda for the present meeting. Let's practice. Why is it important during official meetings such as board meetings to make sure that someone takes minutes? Why is it important during official meetings such as board meetings to make sure that someone takes minutes? It's important
it's important
during official meetings
during official meetings,
such as board meetings
such as
to
board
make
meetings,
sure that
to make sure
someone takes
that
minutes
someone
so
takes
that
minutes,
there's an
so that
official record
there is an
of
official
the
record
issue
of
that were
the issue
discussed
that what
and
discussed
decisions
and the decisions
that were made.
that were made.
What should we do when the chair of a meeting asks us whether there are any matters arising? What should we do when the chair of a meeting asks us whether there are any matters arising? When the chair of a meeting
When the chair
asks
of a
us
meeting
whether
asks
there
us
are
whether
any matters
there are
arising,
any matters
we should
raising,
make any
we should
comments
make
we
any
wish on
comments
issues
on
we
which
we
issues
wish we wish on
we
issues
wish on issues
that were discussed
that were
during
discussed
the previous meeting,
during the previous
which
meetings,
aren't on the
which
agenda
are
for the
on the agenda
previous or for the present
and the
meeting.
previous for present meeting.
Very good. Okay, next repeat. Accountant.
Reca- re-
No,
accountant,
accountant.
accountant,
Accountancy.
accountancy,
Statistics.
statistics,
Economics.
economics,
Bookkeeping.
bookkeeping.
Very good. Okay, listen. An accountant is someone who records, checks, and analyzes financial data and uses this information to produce reports and make recommendations for the financial health of a business. When we talk about bookkeeping, we usually mean just those aspects of accountancy work that involve recording and reporting information. Let's practice. What kind of work does an accountant do? What kind of work does an accountant do? An accountant records,
An accountant,
checks,
an accountant checks,
or an accountant
uh,
records,
an account records,
checks, and
checks
analyzes
in analysis
financial data and
financial
uses
data
this
and
information
uses
to
information
produce reports
to produce
and make
report
recommendations
and make
for the
recommendations
financial health
for the financial
of
health
a business.
of a business.
Which subject would you advise a teenager to study if they wanted a career in accountancy? Which subject would you advise a teenager to study if they wanted a career in accountancy? I'd advise a teenager
Advise
to study
a
math,
teacher to study math,
business, economics,
business,
finance,
economics,
statistics,
finance,
etc.
statistics,
if
etc.
they wanted a career
If they wanted a career
in accountancy.
in accountancy.
What do we mean when we refer to bookkeeping? What do we mean when we refer to bookkeeping? When we refer
When we
To
refer
bookkeeping, we usually
to
mean
the picking, we usually
just
mean
those aspects
just
of
those aspects
accountancy work
of
that
accountancy work
involve
that
recording
involve
and
recording
reporting information.
and reporting information,
Very good. Next bit, direct marketing,
direct marketing,
cold calling.
or cold calling.
Very good. Okay, listen, direct marketing is a way of selling things by calling people on the telephone or mailing them advertisement or catalogs. For example, I find it annoying when companies target me using direct marketing techniques such as cold calling, salesperson calling you. Cold
Mhm,
calling is a telephone call made by businesses to try to sell something, like telemarketers. For example,
mhm.
I cold call the people on the list to avail the products that my company is offering. Let's practice. Do you find it annoying when companies target you using direct marketing techniques such as cold calling? Do you find it annoying when companies target you using direct marketing techniques such as cold calling? Yes or no?
Yes,
I find it annoying
I find it
when
annoying
companies
when
target you
companies
using
target
direct
me you
marketing
using the direct marketing
techniques such as cold
techniques,
calling, such
uh,
as
such as
cold calling.
cold calling.
Very good. Okay, so now let's move on to your reading.
All right.
Very good. Okay, so our reading,
Mm-hmm,
the last stage, page 19, last headword was
mm-hmm.
interest rate. Page
Interest
19,
rate.
interest rate, and the last, what do we get if we subtract 60 from 40?
What do we get if we subtract? All right. What do we get if we subtract 60 from 40? If we subtract